We all know the story of Rome's rise. Legions, discipline, stone-paved roads. It's told as if everything was obvious from the beginning. Rome was always destined to dominate the Mediterranean. But the truth is nothing like that. History never bows to anyone's fate. Empires aren't born from destiny. They rise from opportunity. And most of the time, when a power grows, the reason isn't that it's perfect, but that its rivals make mistakes. Rome rose in a world like this. But before its rise, it spent a very long time in the shadow of another superpower. Not a military one. An economic giant. An empire that grew not through conquest, but through trade. A city that challenged Rome not with ideology, but with money. Carthage, on the shores of modern Tunisia, the global trade hub of its time. Rome's greatest rival, and to be honest, the teacher that transformed Rome into an empire. And believe it or not, at one point it looked like Carthage was the one that would win. What kind of place was Carthage? Picture this. Rome was a military machine. Carthage operated like a corporation. It was run more by businessmen than politicians. Its state budget overflowed with money from trade routes and ports. Founded by the Phoenicians, Carthage knew the sea like the palm of its hand. Shipbuilding, trading, port management, it was all in their DNA. While Rome worked the land, Carthage controlled the sea. Rome's greatest strength was its citizens. Carthage's greatest strength was its capital. And for a time, these two models coexisted peacefully, until the Sicily issue exploded. Why was Sicily so critical? Sicily was like the heart point of the ancient world. Grain passed through it. Trade flowed through it. And the eastern and western Mediterranean met there. If you controlled who passed through Sicily, you controlled who became rich. Rome wanted security. Carthage wanted profit. And when two rising powers want the same thing, history changes course. Rome's surprising move. When the First Punic War broke out, Rome was a naval novice with almost no military power at sea. Carthage had the best navy in the Mediterranean. Normally, Rome would have said, "We're a land power. Naval affairs aren't for us." But not this time. They found a Carthaginian warship, studied it, and capped it. Not just one, hundreds. Financed through public donations, loans, and extraordinary taxes. For the first time, Rome truly began acting like an economic state. Carthage relied on its old power. Rome was gaining new ones. Carthage's hidden weakness. Carthage was wealthy, but fragile. Most of its army consisted of mercenaries. Spaniards, Numidians, Balearic archers, Greek specialists. All of them fought for money. If there was money, the army was magnificent. If money ran out, there was no army. Rome was different. The soldier was also a citizen. The war belonged not just to the state, but to society. This difference became clear after the First War ended. Carthage had to pay heavy reparations and couldn't pay its mercenaries. And one of the bloodiest rebellions in history broke out. It was like a stress test for an economy. And Carthage's model failed that test. The rise of the Barca family Carthage didn't completely collapse. Hamilcar Barca stepped in and changed everything. If there's no money left in Carthage, then we'll go somewhere where we can create it. He turned to Spain. Spain was full of silver, and there, Hamilcar built a semi-independent Barca empire. This family operated almost like a modern corporation. Revenue, army, diplomacy. They managed everything themselves. They weren't indebted to Carthage, yet they were financing Carthage's future. And from this family, one name shined. Hannibal. Hannibal, not just a commander, but an economic weapon. People love the story of Hannibal crossing the Alps with elephants, but the real issue is much bigger. Hannibal came not to break Rome's military structure, but its economic backbone. He aimed to detach Rome's allies, collapse its tax income, and drain its borrowing capacity. A kind of economic destruction plan. And the worst part, he almost succeeded. When he annihilated Rome's army at Cannae, any other state would have fallen. But Rome raised another army, borrowed again, and kept going because Rome had solidarity. The people said, "This stayed. Is ours. Carthage didn't." Have that bond. There, people saw the state like a trading company. Rome's countermove. Starving Carthage. Financially, Rome chose not to destroy Hannibal directly, but to target Carthage's resources. Scipio Africanus went to Spain and captured New Carthage. Everything the Barca family relied on. Treasury depots, supply centers, communication networks. In short, he seized Carthage's income. Then he launched an invasion of Africa. Carthage, drained of resources, was forced to recall Hannibal. At Zama, the war had already been lost economically before it was lost militarily. Aftermath. The policy of economic strangulation Carthage lost. Rome imposed heavy reparations. Carthage was allowed to trade, but forbidden to wage war. And despite this, within just a few decades, it became wealthy again. Fields, production, trade. Carthage was turning into a Mediterranean giant once more. This caused panic in Rome. Not military panic. Economic panic. And finally, in 146 BCE, Carthage was completely destroyed. It was one of history's most brutal acts of economic competition elimination. The lesson it leaves for today, the struggle between Rome and Carthage, if you ask me, is the summary of all history. One rose through trade, the other built itself on resilience and unity most of the time. It's not money that wins wars, but social cohesion. A strong economy matters. But in a crisis, a strong society matters. More Carthage was good at business, but it wasn't as good as Rome in crisis. When we look at today's world, we see similar things. Some states project power through trade routes, some through military bases, some through credit, some through alliances. But ultimately, the question remains the same. Who is more resilient to crisis? This is what made Rome the victor. Carthage lost, but Rome inherited Carthage's world. The winner absorbed the system of the loser, and history moved forward like this.